What if everything we think we know about human limits is wrong, not just slightly off, but fundamentally incomplete? Imagine a soldier who survived conditions that medical science said were 100% fatal, not through luck or superhuman strength, but through psychological adaptations that reveal capacities most of us never access. Today, we're re-examining a documented case that continues to baffle researchers years later. The Pacific survival story that defies explanation. The three mental mechanisms that activate when all hope seems lost. How you can train to access similar resources in your own challenges. And why understanding this single case forces us to completely reconsider what impossible actually means for human potential. According to standard human limits models, survival beyond 72 hours under such conditions would be statistically negligible. What baffled physicians wasn't just that he survived, but how he survived. Physiological measurements indicated periods of metabolic shutdown resembling hibernation, perceptual abilities that seemed enhanced rather than degraded by deprivation, and cognitive functions that operated on principles different from normal consciousness. Brain scans revealed temporary but profound reorganization of neural pathways, with regions associated with fear and pain perception showing decreased activity while areas linked to problem solving and sensory integration demonstrated enhanced function. But beyond the physiological mysteries, the psychological dimensions were equally perplexing. The soldier reported experiencing time differently. But what impossible actually means when the human system reveals capacities we haven't yet learned to measure or understand. Research analyzing this and similar extreme survival cases has identified three mental mechanisms that appear to activate when conventional coping resources are exhausted. Like autobiographical memory, future planning, or social evaluation. The second mechanism involves what researchers call resilience psychology repurposing, the brain's ability to redirect trauma responses toward functional adaptation. The soldier reported moments where seconds felt like minutes, where he could process multiple threat vectors simultaneously, where sensory information seemed to arrive with unusual richness and clarity. The most practical implication of this extreme survival case isn't that we should all expect to survive impossible situations. For centuries, we've defined capability boundaries based on statistical norms, physiological models, and observed behaviors under ordinary conditions. This case suggests that extraordinary conditions might reveal extraordinary capacities that remain hidden during normal life, not as supernatural exceptions, but as latent potentials within standard human biology and psychology. The implications extend far beyond survival training to how we approach challenges in medicine, psychology, education, and personal development. We often accept perceived limitations in stress tolerance, cognitive performance, physical endurance as fixed realities. This case suggests that many limitations might be psychological boundaries rather than physiological ones, maintained by beliefs, expectations, and untested assumptions about what's possible. The soldier didn't survive because he was physically superior to others. He survived because his psychological adaptation accessed capabilities that physical measurements suggested shouldn't exist. This distinction is revolutionary. It means that expanding human potential might depend less on enhancing physical capacity and more on removing psychological constraints that keep capacities dormant. It suggests that training, mindset, and belief systems might be more powerful determinants of performance than we've previously acknowledged, even in domains we consider purely physical. Ultimately, this documented real case teaches us that impossible is often a provisional category, not an absolute boundary, but a statement about current understanding and typical experience. His experience revealed parameters most people never encounter. This doesn't mean anyone can survive anything, but it does mean that our definitions of possibility should include humility about what we do and yet understand about human potential. Second, that the mind-body relationship is far more malleable and powerful than conventional science has acknowledged, with psychological states capable of producing physiological adaptations we're only beginning to understand. And third, that the most valuable lessons from extreme cases might be how they illuminate possibilities for enhancing ordinary life. Not by expecting everyone to become superhuman, but by recognizing that we all have untapped potentials that could transform how we handle stress, challenge, and adversity. Think about how this changes your approach to impossible overcoming in your own life. If this examination of resilient psychology and human potential has made you think differently about your own capacities, about how to prepare for challenges, or about what might be possible with different mental approaches if you want to understand more about the science of peak performance, the psychology of adaptation, or how to cultivate resilience in everyday life, then this understanding is just the beginning. Subscribe and enable notifications to continue exploring the boundaries of human capability and how to expand them. We're not just discussing an extraordinary survival story. We're reinvestigating what that story reveals about potential within us, all potential that might remain hidden until circumstances demand its emergence, but that we can learn to access through understanding and intentional practice.